So you can see how the plant is actively listening to me as I tune the harp. And this is something I've been experimenting with for several weeks now, as you could sense or just noticing the plant music attuning or listening. And I also feel the tuning and the fact of being in a place of humility that I'm tuning an instrument. I'm not even playing yet. The plant, there's a curiosity, there's a intrigue of this shift, this attunement, and I'm tuning to its scale and its key as well. So if you can imagine nature being a vibration and just like a note on a piano, I'm tuning to that note through metaphorically through the harp, and I've set the tuning on the plant machine to 432 hertz, and which is the resonance of the earth, as well as the key of D, which is I'm able to tune both of these instruments too. So let's see how it sounds. Oh, it still totally has to. Let's see. Let's see if the plant, how the plant responds to that.
This is the sound of the harp.
Yeah, so this is the harp, but then the plant music is on the harp setting. So it might be a little confusing for some people, but the sound of the plant being on the harp setting is also, to me, a metaphor of our natural vibrational state or our natural song. And the harp, being very connected to the heart, is the song of nature is very much connected to our hearts as well.
Does the plant just sort of play on its own as it wants to, as it wishes?
Yeah, so the plant basically the plant machine is a biofeedback machine. Yeah, that's the plant. So it's a biofeedback machine that's allowing us to hear the changes in the electromagnetic frequency of the plant. So just like any living being, it has an exchange of sugars and fluids and it's in it, and we get to hear that, and it's measured by this very cool device that was developed in a community in Italy called Damanhur, and they were developing this for over 20 years to be sensitive enough to pick it up.
It's super cool.
So the plant will noticeably shift to the energy in the space. So I've been practicing and creating in a beautiful space. It's a temple, and there's crystals in the room, as well as in the floor. There's an embedded Kabbalistic tree of life. So there's about 4 feet of crystal in the floor in the shape of the tree of life, which is this very powerful symbol of interconnection with life and with the universe. And so the plant in the room has been playing with my music and tuning to my harps as I tune. As also I had several friends come in, and it was just alive with energy, where sometimes when I step away from the harps and I'm working on my notes and I'm studying and tuning in to the artifacts of the wayfinder, it might stop all completely for quite a while. And often it's silent, and I turn around and I look at it, and then it starts to play as I look at the plant and I give it attention. So it's not that it's silent. It might be listening. It might just be aware that song isn't needed. So there's this ability to be present and to be aware of what's happening that is quite extraordinary. And this is what we all have the ability to be intuitive within us. And the plant music is this gauge of kind of like a heart math machine. Like, are you in your head? Are you in your heart? It's helping us, just like an animal would, where are we at? If we're upset or frustrated, the animal might pick up on that and also get agitated, right? But if we're in a state of more expanded awareness, the plant does respond to that. And because I'm playing with instruments that are creating sound waves, the plant can easily pick up on that too.
It's so interesting also because it's really calm. It doesn't come in like bum bum bum. It's just sort of like slowly finding its way into the space where we hold. So
Yeah, absolutely.
let me sort of like do a bit of introduction. So Eily and I, we met because we are doing an artist composer residency with Social Innovation Exchange, which is how sort of this mini podcast series came about. And it's sort of a mini series to document or to try and hold these conversations that we've been having and all of the different thought process that goes into the works that we're producing for Social Innovation Exchange, for the Wayfinder project, but also just as a reflection of our practice and our response to the world, which is very much what the Wayfinder project is about, a response to the chaos that's happening, but also in the sort of like outlook towards the future. What is it that we can bring in as artists, or what kind of action can possibly be inspired through the arts or through music? And Eily, will you be able to start with a self-introduction?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Fia. My name's Eily Aurora, and I'm in Calgary, Canada, amongst the snow and the ice, and we actually are having very beautiful weather right now. But I started playing the harp when I was in my teens, and I started playing because my mom started playing, and so I've used the harp as a way of bringing people together, of connecting people, and also as a way of expressing my heart and what I see in the world. So I often create songs and soundscapes that really represent a journey of human growth and human development. I wrote a song about 3 years ago after the passing of one of my friends called "The Sound of You," and it's really the plant. You can hear the plant like that. It was a journey from a place of deep grief and loss to hope and possibility, and seeing a person who's very dear to us being at peace. So there's a journey in that, and the pieces that I'm working on right now are connected to journey and connected to deep social webs that we find ourselves in. It's often that the songs I write are metaphors and also representing a new possibility as human beings together. I just wrote a song called "I Am Here With You," and the song in the second part, it's imagine one step at a time we can break open the sky. So there's real possibility that musicians and artists can share with the work that we're creating. And about 3 years ago, I started working with plant music with a friend of mine. We received a grant to experiment with how plant music, how it responded to different public spaces. So we brought it into a concert setting, we brought it into a grocery store, we brought it into busy public street. And we noticed how is the song of nature influenced by its environment. So we found some really beautiful evidence of nature being intimately responsive to our actions and our thoughts and our emotions. And the ability to bring plant music into a concert setting or into an experience means that we almost like have the pulse of nature. And so that's a part of my introduction. I've been working also in the last 9 months with Alberta Social Innovation Connect on a project to really help address mental well-being through creating a very interactive online event to create meaningful connection online, as well as a music video that I just released. So this is bringing social innovation together with art, creativity, and embodied inquiry is really what I'm passionate about, and I'm very excited to be speaking with you, Fia, and creating in this amazing Six Wayfinder project as well.
I remember I was so fascinated when you first showed me the plant music, also because I was reading up on circular economics and Charles Eisenstein's work, and he was, just saying that how, as a sort of system where capitalism exists, we see each individual or thing or entity as a resource. So we see nature as a resource to be exploited, to sort of have that economic progress or economic gain. And we don't stop at it because our economy is on the premise of exponential growth. We have to continue growing so that people will be able to keep their jobs, they'll be able to find jobs or whatever. And yet, if we actually look at each entity as well as all of the things that's in nature as its own living being, instead of it being just a resource to be exploited, if we recognize that there is life in them, then we will start to rethink and reshape our relationship with all of the other interbeings in this world. And when you pointed out that plants actually can kind of sing, like there is a way that they can communicate, it was just it was so fascinating, because I think maybe for some people, when we look at animals, it's because they can respond in a way that is audio driven, like you can sort of relate in the, I guess, easier way than it would be with plants. But what you're showing through this plant music is that plants have their own lives as well, and perhaps their own thoughts, who knows? And there is this sort of response that's going on. And isn't it fascinating that it's just kept quiet now?
Yeah. Well, and this is the experiment. I had an incredible experience in a concert once where I was playing the specific, song and tuning into the plant, and the plant just went quiet, and I played a chord on the harp like this. I was like, I mean, that's out of tune right now, and the plant played a note, and then I played, and the plant played a note. And this happened maybe 6 times in a row. And the audience, you could actually feel this awareness in the audience of the plant is conscious and it's responding actively to us. It's offering this experience of relationship, and the human mind can do such weird things and strange things of putting, separating ourselves from nature, separating ourselves from each other. But what the plant music is sharing is that, we are in a very alive universe, a live planet. Nothing is dead. Nothing is not conscious. And from that perspective, just like the indigenous people of this planet knew this intimately, it's very hard to destroy something that is alive and is actively listening and responding to you. But it's about tuning in, and I think this is why this piece has been coming to me over the process of working on the Wayfinder, is tuning the instrument with the plant has been an incredible process for me. And I think as a leader and also as a seeker, I'm very aware of this cycle of sharing and offering a song, for example, and then going inward and retuning myself and noticing where I'm not fully in alignment with myself, working with trauma, working with beliefs, and then processing through that, attuning to that new place, and then sharing again a song. And so having the song of nature here is a symbol of tuning into the natural, the truth of who I am, and then sharing it, and then retuning though. And if we get into a process of a cycle of that, that's a healthy cycle. It's not as healthy if I tune and I create a song and I just keep creating and creating and creating from that place. We as a society need to retune. We need to tune into ourselves, our bodies, our hearts, and create new music and new songs that resonate with the world as it is right now. What is being created from a place of not being in rhythm with nature, not being in rhythm with our own truth, which is being caretakers of this planet, caretakers for future generations. And that's also why I have the Chinese harp and the Celtic harp, is because these 64 strings represent the diversity of the human spirit, and the Chinese harp being, east meets west, and the Celtic harp the west, and these places are often this polarized world of clashing of ideas, of disconnect, of fighting between one culture and the other. But what we're being asked to do at this time on the planet is to come together, and is to learn to play together, learn to create together. And so this is really the basis of what's coming through me for the Wayfinder is having the song of nature with us, and two hands, two harps in the song of nature. So playing, learning to tune both instruments to each other and work with each other, playing at the same time, um, and allowing the relational experience to come into song, into music.
I think the plant's been agreeing with you. It's almost as if
Yeah.
like there is this greater harmony in our world that we don't see, especially when we're so caught up with sort of like the busyness of life and what modernity sort of brings to us. Yet there is a larger harmony that unites us all, and it seems like this is also something that you're exploring, and it's something that we should all perhaps just be still, be silent, hold that space, and just listen to what comes. And so now, like, would you like to play something for us so that we can listen to
Yeah,
part of the
I would
journey?
love to play, and you might have to stop the podcast here and like let me tune again. This is and this is the humility of being a musician and a harpist. Is everywhere I go, I have to retune, and so that's the first thing you learn on a harp is to tune the harp. And wouldn't it be interesting as humans if this is the first thing we learn is to tune ourselves and to tune ourselves to nature?
Mm.
So there's humility in tuning and retuning, and the strings of the harp very much representing, I feel, the different parts of the body, or the chakra system, from the bottom to the top of the chakra system. And harp therapy is a very well-known form of music therapy where the harp is used to support healing. So this instrument has a lot of capacity for healing in the world. So I'm going to have to retune in a second. You might have to stop the podcast again. So
All good.
here's the song with the plant music. I'm going to just turn it up so everyone can recognize the plant. There you go. That was pretty. So the plant music was basically just playing a few notes at a time, and as soon as I started playing, it playing like that, haven't heard it playing like that. So melodically, right as I started playing before.
That's so cool. I have to apologize because the internet connection isn't that good, so what was recorded is probably not as good as the actual real thing.
Oh yeah, I can do it again if you want.
No, it's fine. But I just wanted to note that it was that improvised?
Oh yeah.
Wow, because like I was realizing that the plant was playing all these like these tunes, these notes, and you were playing in harmony with it. And then I was like, there's no way you could have rehearsed that. And it was just really interesting to see how they flowed together. I think I mentioned it to you before, right? When I first heard you play both the Celtic harp and the guzheng together, because for me, guzheng, it's something that's kind of familiar in terms of my memories and the tune of it. It's something that's very uniquely Chinese as far as my memory goes, because I hear that, you know, growing up in Singapore, I hear that in schools where they have CCAs for guzheng clubs, and people would perform quite periodically, you know, just in the halls. And I never would have pieced the two together because they are so distinct. Even though they're both string instruments, for me, they're quite different. Yet somehow you managed to find a way to link them together in a way that harmonized. Like it didn't feel too different in the way that you pieced them together, if that made sense. And yet they're each still sort of like maintain its own flavor.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been many years of working with them, but having them in the same key, you know, the Celtic harp has 7-note scale, the Chinese harp has a 5-note scale. So it's finding the notes that work together and taking the time to do that, which is again very celebrate our differences, celebrate our unique gifts, but as cultures, as individuals, as communities, but also learn to play together, to work together. And this is the relational aspect of my project: is we must learn to be together and communicate and connect and share our stories and hear each other and work together on what's happening on the planet right now with our struggles. So many people feel alone, but we're not alone in our struggles. We're not alone in our joys. We have such more similarities than differences, really.
How has the Wayfinder journey been for you? I mean, also because I think when we started that project, I mean, COVID hit and it's been such a disruption to everyone's lives, but in a way that also there was a lot of chaos. And then suddenly we were, you know, 6 of us plus so Kelsey and Josiane together in a space and really holding space for each other to be heard. And I just wonder, like, what, in terms of your experiences or your response, how has it been so far in the past couple of weeks?
I think I've been feeling, I mean, in terms of what's happening in Calgary in Canada, I mean, we're just going through a second lockdown, 3 weeks where there's quite severe restrictions put on people that none of us have ever experienced before. But in terms of being a part of this project, this is giving light. This is a way of stepping into the eye of the storm and creating and allowing creativity to move through me is a huge resource for helping my mental health, my emotional health, and just transforming the suffering and the fear of what's happening in the world into beauty, into a creative expression. And this is one of my messages: is we can transform anything with our hands, with the way that we move our feet. We can dance, we can move our hands and create something. We can knit something, we can draw something, we can write something, we can play something. We have the ability in our body, in our hands, our feet, in our voice to respond accordingly to whatever's happening in our lives, even if it is this extreme situation of COVID affecting the world. We do have that power in us.
It's been really nice for me as well. So like I sort of came back to Singapore after 6 years abroad. And then, you know, obviously it's a sort of different reality where I felt like physically I am here in this hot tropical country, but my heart, my soul, it just felt like it was somewhere else in the world. And then I think like this project came at a time where I kind of needed it because I felt like I was floating around. Like I just felt like 80% of my being is just not present here, and yet I'm neither here nor there. And then doing this project sort of helped ground me a little bit in a strange way. Even though it was all mostly online, I think just having that space or having that group that's so warm and inviting and welcoming, and just even starting each session that we have together with a meditation, and just, you know, having those moments of silence, just let those silence be, and just having a space where, you know, if you don't really have anything to say, that's okay too, and really curating that space to for each other to be heard, and having that sort of support, even like in the process in the past couple of weeks, just having these conversations with you and bouncing ideas off, that's really nice. And it's just, I think as artists we do need that energy and that synergy as well, just to ground us, and to, I think also, I guess this was something that I did mention to you that I wanted to point out in this podcast, which is that art has its own healing powers. And what is it that feeds us artists in this process that we want to share as well to the rest of the world in a time like now? Like for me, it's really every piece of my work, they are all really personal. They come from a personal experience or a personal story. And then with different sort of creative expression, I convey something, be it a message or be it my experiences. And actually it doesn't matter what the outcome is. It matters to a certain extent if I'm perfectionist enough, but then like the process itself, it gives me so much that I've learned, that I recover and heal, that I think no matter what the
Mm-hmm.
outcome is, it doesn't matter, because in that
Yeah,
process, I've gained a lot more from it.
absolutely. That's so beautiful, Fia. And you're right. I mean, coming together, these six artist composers from around the world. You're in Singapore. We have Greece. We have, you know, Poland. We have the UK. And we have Canada. I mean, we are literally hugging the world. Oh, we also have Toronto. And there's something so healing about coming together as a group of people who, not only are we artists, but we're also social innovators, and bringing those things together is really so exciting. In the world. And I mean, I want to remind people, you don't have to be an artist. I don't even like labeling myself that. It's just creating a practice of expression, something that's joyful for you. It doesn't have to have any outcome. What you said, the process in itself is so powerful of creating, you know. And then you know, I know in some cultures, they actually, you know, just leave the product. You know, I think it's in Inuit culture, or up north in Canada, they create these amazing, you know, pieces of stone or wood art, and they actually just leave it on the ice. You know, they just leave it there because it's not about that. It's about what brought them there. Or in Tibet, the incredible sand um, mandalas, and then they destroy it afterwards. There's the process of moving through something and moving out what's in us in a creative way, an expressive way. Um, yeah, it's a vital thing for all of us right now. But it's beautiful to hear your story.
I think this is termed as land art, where artists just go into like usually sort of natural environments, and then they create something and they leave it there. And if the wind destroys it, then so be it. That's a part of its course. And I thought it was just really, it was so nice to have, I guess social innovation exchange 6 sort of attracts a certain group of people, and then it's almost like finding the people for us and having the right people at the right time at the right space, and just realizing that no matter where we are in the world, actually a lot of these sentiments that we share are very similar, and that in response to this chaos there is increasingly more of an urge, more of a need, more of a desire to want to heal, or to want to connect, or to want to bring
Yeah.
together something. And I think what was really nice for me about this online residency is also that we are coming together, and we're not just talking about problems, we're actually responding to it, we're actually creating something together. And I feel like all of these months over the past year, having all these conversations that's online, you know, talking about the chaos, talking about capitalism, or talking about the system that's breaking down, and it just feels like, great, what next? And then you don't see these people after one online call. What is the action that we can collectively take? How can we join forces? How can we collaborate? How can we make something together? How can we act?
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. What's coming to mind right now is another piece that I'm putting together, which is um, always changes, art does, but listening to here is I'm playing the sound of a river, and I could actually play this right now. Sound of a creek and a river in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, and it's an invitation for the listener to go to somewhere that's sacred for them. Maybe this is a place that, why there's so much grief is this sacred place is being destroyed or it's not being respected. And going and sitting and bringing something. I mean, in my training of indigenous culture, we use tobacco. So we bring tobacco and we offer it to the earth. We offer something. You know, if you don't have anything, you could just bring a piece of your hair and put it on the ground. And there's an offering, and then there's also a waiting and a listening. And so this piece has the plant music in it. It has this river that is a place of sacredness for me. But it's the response of nature. It's the question, the hopelessness that can be there. And for me, I don't go to church, but I find that church has been nature. Church has been going to those sacred places and listening, and really listening, not just going for a hike and running up and down the mountain and going home and saying I accomplished something. For me, going into nature means I go somewhere and I take the time to be still and to tune myself to the song of nature, to that stillness, to the web of life that is there. And I mean, nature is everywhere. I mean, this plant is nature, and we're hearing nature through that. I'm gonna have to unplug the plant for a second, and I'm gonna play this river because I feel like it's important to hear where I've experienced the sacred.
And I just wanted to say, like, so we talked about this before, like how you grew up in a place that's so close to nature, and I grew up in a city where, you know, it's pretty much a concrete jungle with carefully curated rows of trees along the roads, and in comparison, I could sense that you have a much heightened sensitivity towards nature and towards the energy that's around, which for me, even like being in nature and really being still, that took me some time to really learn to cultivate that, because it didn't come as natural instinct.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was so appreciative of that conversation that we had, Fia, because it's when this is all I know, and a lot of people that live around here have more of a connection with nature. It's easy to forget that nature is, and that experience of nature in different communities around the world is yeah, it's very different than what I grew up with. So that actually, it was such a beautiful reminder, and going, this is needed. What I'm doing is needed, and I have a skill to help remind people of what is within us and what is around us. But it also made me aware of the sadness of like globalization, and you know, the amount of people that come to Canada and Calgary. You know, it's this city is so sprawling. I mean, there's all these suburbs where there's so much land that's being taken up by the city. That, you know, there's only 1 million people here. There's some cities in the world where there's maybe 20 million people in the same amount of space. I don't know if it's 20 million, but there's a lot more people because we're just using the land because we have the land. And so there's a concern of how long will this land stay wild? And that's so dear to my heart, that place of the wildness of nature, and to go into wildness and remember what that's like within me, and also what that's like is healing. And okay, I can go home, I can go into the city, I can go into this, you know, civilization and do what I need to do, but at least I know that's there. I know it's still there. So this is from a place near Kananaska's, this stream. I was walking and I sat down near this stream, and I there's ice. I don't know if you can hear the ice, but the river is sort of flowing through ice. And so I sat down and I brought my some tobacco out, and I took a moment to pray and to offer the tobacco to the stream, and to listen, and just to listen and be open. I just take a second now to do that, just maybe like 10 seconds, just to be still. There we go.
It was actually very calming.
Mm-hmm.
We don't actually have that much time left. So, like, sort of an ending question, I guess. If there is one thing that someone can do to create change in the world, what would it be?
Well, change begins within us, and change begins with an awareness of our body, our hands, our feet, and in order to create change in the world, we must begin with ourselves. So, I would invite you into stillness, and from that stillness, maybe there's sitting meditation, or maybe there's a movement that wants to come, and allow the movement. There's a movement towards shaking the body. There's a movement towards allowing the sound through the body, giving permission to what is present within us right now. That might mean there's a movement to go walking in the bushes or in the woods or on the street, to pick up a pen, to pick up something that you can express what's in you. Allow the movement, because that movement is what's connected to the song of nature. It's that's this current that's running through all living things, is the movement that's within you. And when we stop that movement, that's when we disconnect from the body and we go into the head and we start thinking too much, and there can be very difficult thoughts that come, and I feel very compassionate because I've experienced a lot of those in my life. But often the question and the answer is movement, going for a walk, listening, asking for help. Allow the movement within you. Listen to some music. Bring the body into your space, and start to trust the body's movements towards writing a song. I'll just share a story of when I was when I lost one of my best friends 3 years ago. I was in such grief, and we are grieving as a globe right now. The grief of losing connection with each other, losing connection with losing work, losing things that were beautiful for us that we created and are now not able to survive, like business wise. We're losing our family to COVID. We're losing people dear to us. And so I was in that place of grief, like so many people are. And I'm so grateful I have the harp. So I have this resource. Find your resources. And I sat down to my harp and I started creating a song and just started playing. I didn't even think about a song. And so that song became a solace for me as I grieved, following the movement within me.
Where can people find out more about your works?
So I have a website, eilyaurora.com. It's EILY Aurora.com. And then I also have an Instagram channel, which is called the Harp Fairy. And I dress up as a fairy and embody a character that's really about sparking joy through spontaneous creativity and silliness. So that's where I actively post different videos and different pictures. Yeah, those are a couple of the places that you can find out about me. And on YouTube, Heart Fairy Clown, I just released a video there.
I'll share the links on the episode description as well. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
I will leave everyone with a glissando, a wave. This is a part of the Wayfinder project, is listening to the waves of change, waves of grief, waves of joy.
Beautiful. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Via.